Morning. Welcome back to the Awesemo Odds Betting Show. I am your host, Jordan Frank. It is October.
But no, this is a crazy time of the year. This is one of the few times we got baseball playoffs. Hockey has started. NBA preseason has started. NFL is in full swing. Golf is here. What's not going on?
Literally everything is happening. This is for sure my favorite time of year.
Yeah.
Like you said, baseball playoffs just starting. That's always a fun time of year. Every other sport kind of big time of the year right now. So I'm happy. I know you're happy. We're back to normal with you sweating the golf cut on a Friday morning. So
Wouldn't have it
everything's
any other
normal.
way.
We before we get into talking about last week, and I do want to get your thoughts on the game last night because that was a really interesting game. Ben, I wanted to ask you a question. Obviously, we are the sports betting show here. I think both you and me have our ears on kind of the gambling and sports betting world. It's been a wild week, so there's been three pretty crazy stories that have happened this week. So I want to ask you, in your world, what's kind of been the most compelling story to you? And I'll run through the three here really quickly. The first story, kind of more on the business side, but you have Betfair and Paddy Power, which is basically the biggest European sports betting conglomerate. They own FanDuel already. They purchase the Stars Group, which owns Poker Stars and also now owns or is in a partnership with Fox. And Fox is launching their own sports betting endeavor. So you have this gigantic sports betting conglomerate that's been created that's going to take over the world. That's number one. Number two, you have DraftKings and Sugar House have launched in Indiana yesterday and today, basically. Anytime there's a new state that goes online in the US, that's a big deal. Might be overshadowed by the first thing I said. The third thing that I want to mention that you and I know have both been talking about is this poker cheating scandal that's kind of taken over the interwebs. And I don't need to get more into it, at least not yet. So I'm just kind of curious in your world. It's been a crazy week. So what have you been focusing on?
It has. Honestly, probably the least important from a macro level story. I've been focused on the poker cheating scandal
Yeah.
that entered into my web, and we're not going to get too crazy, but if you play poker, I'm sure you know Joe Ingram, and I watched his videos. Doug Polk got involved, and like everyone, I came to a pretty easy conclusion. Don't really need to get into that. But then I did see the news that you just talked about, and it's no surprise. It's the Wild West right now with sports betting. Every place is kind of figuring out their way, and it's only a matter of time before some of these monster conglomerates start pairing up and making some beast companies, and that's what we're seeing here.
Yeah, that is exactly what we're seeing, like world domination trying to happen. But yeah, going back, I mean, you and I have been talking. I know it's really taken over the world.
Yeah.
This hand by hand analysis of, and if you don't know what we're talking about, the guy's name is Mike Postle, Postle. Just Google that, and you'll have a deep dive for days on what's been
Literally
going on.
days.
Literally days, like 5+ hour streams going on. Joey Ingram, like you mentioned, dissecting hand by hand just how insane this guy is, and just really no explanation. There's just so much bad evidence. But I obviously don't want to deep dive it here, but I wanted to mention it because it's just been like everywhere in the sports betting and gambling news right in the last week.
For sure. It was something I stumbled upon, just with whatever, and then it took on a life of its own. And it's like most things. I think most people, a general statement, I guess, who do some nefarious things are, I think, pretty stupid, and they're greedy, and that's how they get caught.
Yeah.
And this is just another example of that, because some of the things that you see the ultimate bet guy, and you see this guy all like 8 standard deviations away from everyone else. That's usually a somewhat of a telltale sign in the world, but not something. I'm not too involved with poker these days because I live in America, obviously, and that's a killer right off the bat.
Yeah, it does make it hard. But yeah, I don't know if it's 8 or 800 standard deviations away
Fair
the way this
point.
guy's playing.
Mm-hmm.
It's insane. So we'll put that behind us. Something that you and I have been talking about and keeping an eye on that a lot of people are interested in. Quick kind of breakdown from last week. Kind of a crazy week in the NFL. I mean, I think we say that every week. A lot of dogs end up winning. Just one point that I wanted to make that I think is really important. Uh, I last week I had all dogs. They all covered and all won outright. And to me, that kind of highlights the importance of sprinkling. Like we kind of talk about it, and people joke like you have to sprinkle. But I think to survive betting, especially in the NFL, like you really need to maximize your opportunity to profit, and you can't just always win. The 11-10 bet or whatever you're getting betting an underdog against the spread, and especially the NFL. Like I don't know what your opinion is, Ben. Like for me, I'm always putting at least half a unit or some measure on a money line win when I'm betting an underdog. Are you typically doing that in the NFL?
Mostly, maybe launch up those round robin parlays and just retire. But so there's a couple different reasons, and of course, every bet is on its own merit. If it's a team where it's a number that you like, and when you're betting it, of course, that comes into play. I definitely think it's pertinent to allocate a little and to shop the price because more often than not, the money lines are where you're going to see some fluctuation between books. With the NFL, it's an efficient market. You're not going to find too much variation in the spreads. Now, if you're betting a team and it's strictly because of a key number, you like it at 7.5 or something. Again, maybe you can sprinkle, sure, but as we've seen, teams can just look at the Bucks, knocked me out
Yeah,
of Survivor. Not that I did
yeah,
anything useful last week anyway, but just in general, I do think you have to kind of take your stands to a limit. If you like the Redskins this week, I'm not sure it's worth a
good luck.
sprinkle per se. Yeah, good luck.
Yeah,
But within reason, I definitely think that that's one of the ways you can kind of really make an impact on a couple weeks that it goes a long way over the course of the season.
yeah, for sure. You can't just do it blindly with dogs, for sure. Like you can't be betting, obviously, like Miami, money lines here. You're going to go broke, but you just have to, like anything, pick and choose the opportunity. But on some of these shorter dogs, and I like to bet home dogs. Like I'm typically going to sprinkle a little bit. A lot of people have different ways of doing it. Usually, I'll do anywhere from like a third to maybe a quarter of what my actual bet is on a money line sprinkle, just to get kind of a little bit of upside built in. And it's easy to pick and choose, right? Obviously, last week you look like a genius. This week you look like an idiot if you do that strategy. So it's so week to week and game to game dependent.
And you just want to, this is a DFS thing, and this is just, I don't know if it's like a human mind thing. You just have to be aware that you're going to lose the majority of your money lines when you're betting underdogs. That's just a fact. And that doesn't mean that you're losing money. It's just you don't need to hit 50% of them. That's the
Yeah,
point. So you just want to make sure that you're not discouraged. You're going to have weeks if you're sprinkling where you lose all those bets and it's not, "Oh my god, why am I doing this?" You have to remember that you're only going to hit intermittently, but if you're getting the value that you're looking for, whether it's closing line value or you're just finding inefficiencies over time, it will catch back up.
yeah, exactly. That's the best point right there. Like you don't have to hit it over 50% to be profitable when
No,
you're betting the money lines like this.
yeah,
Do you want actually? I do want to get your thoughts really quickly about last night. Obviously, you and Alex Baker, Awesemo, did the showdown show nice and early yesterday, which I
we did.
appreciated. That was great. Kind of a wild game. Obviously, came down to a matter of inches as to who won the game. But I'm kind of curious what you thought. I mean, it's such an interesting spot for the Rams because of what happened last week in the betting market, like totally overreacting, maybe not overreacting, maybe reacting appropriately. I guess I want to ask you what you thought. I mean, it's kind of a two-part question here. Like it goes back to last week and then what we saw last night.
Yeah, wild game. It seems every time in recent history these two teams meet, the it gets high scoring, the over cashed easily once again. Last last year both games were in the 60s in terms of a total when it was all said and done. So I don't know what to make of it. Chad has pointed out, and I have to agree that Seattle's 4-1, and I just don't know how good they are. I really don't. And maybe I'm wrong. And the greatness of Russell Wilson, it can't be understood. He's unbelievable.
He is.
I don't probably give him his credit that he deserves. So I still think that for me, I'll be looking to add some on the Rams to win that division, especially if the Browns beat San Francisco, which I think they have a fair chance to do. I don't think it's quite over for the Rams just yet. They let one slip away against Tampa. There's no denying that. And then they lost a hard fought game in Seattle.
Yeah, yeah. I think last night in a vacuum, like I don't take a lot from that game. It's obviously a tough place to play. I don't think Seattle's defense is very good. I think Seattle, uh, obviously with Russell Wilson, like he's just like talk about like God mode. Like he is an incredible. Like his offensive line, just collapses around him and he gets out of harm's way like time and time again. And somehow like they get away with the win yesterday. But really, yeah, I was just curious to see because the line did move pretty significantly from what the look ahead line was, last night, given that the Rams lost to Tampa Bay in the way that they
Mhm.
did. And yeah, I had the Rams in Survivor too. I think we both did. We both did on
Yes,
this show for sure. So Nolan is not here. He would be gloating that
he
that
would.
he's yeah that he had the Chargers with that just total layup against the Dolphins.
Smart. Yeah. I mean, we'll see. I'm not, Jared Goff has moments of brilliance and then moments where you're just like, God, if they just had a quarterback.
Yeah.
But I still believe in the Rams, and we'll see. Now the pressure just revs up. Less margin for error, of course. But that was a weird spot, the quick turnaround coming off the disappointing Sunday. And yeah, I mean, you could have easily lost covered by the hook, 1.5 last night by the hook, maybe depending on where you got it. So
Yeah.
kind of fell right within what Vegas kind of thought.
Who'da thunk that Vegas would be right on a line here?
Yeah,
That's
shocker. We never see that.
shocking news. Yep. Yep. All right. Well, why don't we move forward then? Look towards the weekend. Do you want to give your first pick, and then we'll just go back and forth since it's just the two of us?
Sure. Yeah, and we have Nolan's picks. We will say them in between. And so I'll get it started with an over under. I was, by the way, let's get that out right now. I was god awful once again last week. So I need to
I
make
didn't
comeback.
want to say anything. I was being
No,
courteous for
no.
this one time since I was three
Well,
and zero.
I have no. Yeah, you were 3-0. But you know what? It's a long season. That's the good thing about this.
That
And
is for
we will
sure.
see. I got to muster up the strength here to claw back. I'm going to try to do that first pick another under. New Orleans and Tampa Bay, 47 where we have it. So right off the bat, I won't be, I don't think this is a bad thing. Where I'm looking kind of in the market, it's already moved down. So where we're looking and getting our spreads, if you're in a contest and you have quote unquote stale lines, you always want to take advantage if you can see that. Now, this is a game that I kind of think could be a little lower scoring anyway. The Saints are effective, but they're effective in a different way with Bridgewater. It's kind of lean a little more on the defense, be conservative, let Kamara and Michael Thomas do their thing. But I think in this game, even against the Bucks defense, that they're pretty suspect against the pass, great against the run so far. We could see another game that, not that it's going to be a super grinded out like Dallas and the Saints were, but one where I don't think we're going to see a back and forth shootout by any stretch. So I think I'm getting a good number here. I need good numbers. I need all the help I can get. Under 47 Bucks Saints.
I will say, so I've made what 12 picks so far on this show. We do 3 a week. It's been 4 weeks. I've never once taken a total. I'm usually more, taking sides.
Mm-hmm.
My first pick was the under of this game.
Really?
Yes. So as soon as
Wow.
you
And
said that, I'm like, you got to be kidding me. This is my one time to shine with a total.
that's and just for the record, chat, we do not discuss our picks. So
We do
that is
not.
uh wow. All right. Well, I feel like I'm in good company. I'm sure you feel terrible.
Yeah, I feel like we're screwed, but no, I really like. I actually lean Tampa, but I don't like it at 3. It opened at 6.5, which is crazy that it's come all the way
Insane.
down. That's obviously an overreaction to last week. Uh, but for like you said, Bucks number one rush defense, and if you look at the Saints with Bridgewater, like they're just pounding the ball. His average depth of target is the worst in the league. It's 3.4 yards per pass. I mean, they're really just dinking and dunking and relying on Kamara. And I think that kind of plays right into the hands of the Bucks defense. I was a little bit. I don't want to take it at 3, so that's where I kind of leaned more towards the under, and so that was going to be that is my also my first pick. Shaq Barrett has 9 sacks in 4 games. I mean, that obviously unsustainable, but he has been incredible, just disrupting everything. We saw him last week against the Rams. Basically, every week he's been a force. I just like their defense enough to keep this game close and to keep it pretty low scoring. I don't see the Saints really putting a bunch of points on the board here.
I'm with you. I just think, kind of as we both talked about, the Saints are not the same version of themselves. It doesn't mean they're ineffective. In fact, they look pretty good. I just don't know how apt they are to get into a track meet. And Tampa has some things working on defense. So I don't like it at 3 either. The time to get Tampa, and we talk all the time about closing line value, which is incredibly important. You want to, the time to get them was earlier in the week. I did not.
Yeah.
I don't have a position on this game, and I'm not going to. I like the under. That's about it. Nolan's first pick, I'm just going to throw it out there, and then we can get back at it, is Tennessee -3. He is hoping, and I totally get this, if you think Josh Allen maybe doesn't play and Mac Barkley comes in, you could get some value there. Tennessee at home. I see the line, I see the merit there. Derrick Henry, just lean on him heavily. I'm not sure how many points the Bills will put up in a game like this, regardless who's at quarterback. Low total, should be a back and forth game. You're not given the hook, which is nice. 3, dangerous push chance, but it's certainly better than 3.5.
Yeah, that was a game that I was looking at pretty closely. Very low total, like you said. Uh, I have a hard time just believing in Mariota. I feel like I've been burned so many times, but I did see a stat that he is the only quarterback who's played all 4 games, which now that limits it to about half the quarterbacks, but who does not have a turnover. So he's playing pretty close to the best, obviously, but tough defense with Buffalo. I think I probably lean towards Tennessee. It's not one of my picks, but pretty interesting pick by Nolan there with his first pick.
Yeah, like I said, I'm in a very similar boat. I don't have a play on it. It's not one of my 3 that we're doing for the show. If I had to pick the game, I probably would lean with the Titans at home, just because I don't know what to expect from the Bills after. I don't want to say it was an emotional loss, but they had chances to win that game last week, and they did not take advantage.
They did, and I actually do kind of think it is kind of a letdown spot, even though they lost last week. But like, there's so much emotion in that game. It's 3-0 versus 3-0. Obviously, the hated Patriots coming to town. Bills Mafia fired up, especially if Allen doesn't play. That does seem like a big letdown spot. So I get it from that perspective, and that does make me lean Tennessee for sure. But yeah, not one of my 3 picks here.
So yeah, I guess we'll mini snake it. What do you want to go, and then I'll go?
Sure. Let's hope we're just not in lock and step here for the next one, because this is another one that I would traditionally never do. You can kind of get a sense from my style, like the games that I like to pick are typically dogs. Like I love home dogs. I'm not usually laying a bunch of points in the NFL. All that being said, I am going the complete opposite, total 180 here, and I am going to lay, let me make sure I got the number right, 15.5 points with the Patriots. Not something that I want to do consistently, that's for sure, and the stats will definitely bore that out. But the Patriots, they're a different animal, and they do cover these big spreads at a much higher rate than any other team. I mean, they just have more of these big spreads also, but they're going to Washington. Man, Washington is just a disaster right now, and that's kind of what I'm banking on. I'm also banking a little bit that the market is somehow undervaluing the Patriots, which never happens. Like it's usually the opposite. They're overvalued. But I think we see from last week, their tough game against the Bills, and even the week before, even though they destroyed the Jets, that game got closer at the end due to some garbage touchdowns by the Jets defense. So the Patriots haven't covered 2 weeks in a row, and I think you kind of see that baked in a little bit here. I also was looking at the under in this game. Like I could see this game being like 37-3, like no problem for the Patriots. I'm curious your thoughts, because this is not a typical style of pick for me. So I'm really going total 180 so far with both picks.
That's interesting. Just I was going to bring up, and now it's actually a decent segue. So in games like this, the total's a little high relative to what I'm about to say, and most books are not going to let you. But correlated parlays are a thing.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And this is almost in that territory. Whereas the window for the Patriots to cover and it to and the under to hit is very narrow.
It
Uh,
is.
Washington's team total will have to be anemic. So if your book, has if you can parlay the Patriots in the over or Washington and the under, it's in that territory where there is some value. Now, a lot of books don't let you do that. Most books, in fact, but
Yeah.
that is something to consider.
It really
Washington,
comes down to me like Washington's offense
they have no
and
quarterback.
against the Patriots D, right? Like the Patriots have only given up one offensive touchdown, which was against the Bills last week, a fourth down sneak. Uh, I just am expecting them to completely dominate this game, and especially if Haskins is quarterback, then I'm pretty confident.
I don't know what they're going to do at quarterback, which is scary because New England's defense is just out of control right now. Um. Uh. All right, my
So you
second
think
pick.
it's crazy, or what do you
No,
think?
no. I mean, is it? I'll put it like this. I would. I think it's crazier to bet the Reds. I don't know how you back the Redskins in any spot right now. Um.
They're I don't know who's worse, them or Miami. Like I say that kind of in jest, but like it's not that far off. I feel like.
Miami, I kind of at least know who they are. They're awful, but at least you know who they are. Like, we don't know if Haskins is gonna. Maybe he'll be
True.
good down the road. Like, he might just be unable to get thrown in right now. Last week, it looked like you couldn't possibly keep him in long term.
Yeah.
Uh, so it remains to be seen what's going on with the Redskins. I can't imagine backing them now. I'm not similar to you. I could probably count on one hand the number of times in the NFL where I'm laying more than 2 touchdowns on the road.
Yeah.
Uh,
It's insane. I realize that as I say it even more, but this is the one spot where I think I'm going to stick
if you're
with
going to
it.
do it with the Patriots, is certainly the team to do it.
Yeah.
No argument there. I'm doing. I didn't think this would be a game of yours, and maybe it'll be your third pick. Who knows? I'm going to a interesting spot. I'm going across the pond to
Oh,
London,
okay.
and I am starting Chase Daniels season. I'm laying the 5.5 with the Bears. They play the Raiders. We saw last week they just took apart the Vikings and Dalvin Cook. That I think that people. I'm not saying the Patriots defense isn't good, but to me there is a clear best defense in the league, and then you have the Patriots, and then you have everyone else. I think the Bears are starting to get into the territory where it's like we have a uniquely good defense, uh, and that's going to cause major problems. I wonder how Oakland will move the ball here. So I know that Chicago's dealing with some Trubisky issues. I don't really worry about that. In fact, I think it
Yeah.
lowers the variance for them, which is good because if they can control the game on the ground, limit turnovers, I don't think that Oakland can really manufacture with full field drives. A short field is the kiss of death when you have a good defense. Just don't turn the ball over, Chicago. I think they find a way to kind of just stifle them. Not a beat, but a 24-10 type game where the Bears just really impose their will on defense is kind of what I'm looking at here.
Yeah, I like it a lot. That's either my third or my fourth pick. I may end up just switching it, but I do like the Bears a lot in this spot as well. You got the Khalil Mack revenge narrative, which obviously I don't believe in narratives, but he's been talking a lot this week about this game being circled on his calendar for a long time. Like I kind of fear for Derek Carr here a little
Could be
bit.
bad.
Yeah, this could get out of hand, and I totally agree with you that yeah, maybe not the upside isn't there with Chase Daniel, but he's pretty steady, and I don't worry as much about those just killer turnovers like with Trubisky. Like you just don't know what Trubisky is going to do so often, and that really increases the variance with the Bears. So I really like Chase Daniel in this spot. I mean, I don't think the Oakland's defense scares me that much. I think they're going to run the ball a lot, like have a relatively pretty close to the vest style. They're not going to open it up too much. They don't need to. They can just run the ball and play great defense, and that's what we've seen them have the most success doing. I actually really, really like this pick,
Yeah, and like I
which
said,
pains me.
it pains me. I'm not. I don't like certainly to back teams where their offense it's a struggle. But similar to what we saw in New Orleans, now Breeze isn't Trubisky, and that's the big difference. But with Bridgewater too, the dink and dunk, that's what I want to see from Chicago. I don't want a
Yeah,
high variance situation because I feel extremely confident that the Raiders are not going to be able to drive the field on this defense. And if that doesn't happen, where are the points going to come from? So yeah, I we're going to see what happens there. I don't think it's going to be any QB controversy or anything like that, but I have a feeling that Chase Daniels, there's no drop off, and they keep right in the race while Trubisky is hurt.
Yeah, yeah, I absolutely agree with you. I think the team, you could arguably just be a better team with Daniel. Like they don't need a high variance style offense to win, right? Like they kind of remind me of that Ravens team that won the Super Bowl with Trent Dilfer. They had like one of the best defenses of all time. I don't know if the Bears are quite that good, but they have a great defense. And you just kind of need that game manager dink and dunk style quarterback to win and just not put you in terrible spots. And we've seen Trubisky be the opposite of that, where he'll put the team in terrible spots. He'll have that horrible turnover. I'd like to see him a lot more, which is kind of crazy to say, but maybe not that crazy with Chase Daniel than Trubisky.
Yeah, I mean that. Listen, football is a weird. You see that where I think it's pretty easy to say that the Bears, when they get to the playoffs and the ultimate ceiling, clearly is higher with Trubisky when they need to max it out. But if you're just looking for that pretty standard lower variance type thing, you want someone with lower risk, and we see that with a lot of the backup quarterbacks.
Yeah.
Bridgewater, Kyle Allen's a little different, but same concept. And then you got the God Minshew, who's in a different category. But I did look at that game, and
Oh yeah.
in in real life, I'm waiting because I think Carolina is going to get to 3. We see it at 3.5, and I'm just not going to lay 3.5. I do like Carolina in that game, though. I'm going to take for my last pick. Oh, actually, let's give
Yeah, I was
Nolan's.
gonna say, yeah. Let's give Nolan second, and then we'll do
Sure.
your third, and then my third.
Perfect. So Nolan's second is the one of the few home dogs available this week. It is the Pittsburgh Steelers getting 3.5. Big divisional game against the Ravens. So this is one of those. If to me, if the Steelers have any hope of getting back in this North race, they got to win this game.
Yeah.
And if Baltimore wants to really reassert itself as probably the favorite, they need to win this game. So a really big game in Pittsburgh between two teams that have never liked each other.
Yeah, another game I've looked at very closely, and that hook, that extra hook, makes such a huge difference. If you look at the history of these two teams, and the history isn't worth that much, but it is interesting to see that the last, I think it was 31 or 32 games, basically half of them have been decided by 3 points or less. Like these teams are always just in close battles. Obviously, the coaches know each other extremely well. Yeah, like you said, it's kind of make or break for the Steelers here if they're going to salvage the season. Baltimore, man, what an egg that they laid last week.
That was
that
my
was such a
one regret, not just on this show, but in I certainly bet.
life
Uh,
regret.
I did not. I I really thought it was an all-in, hands-on deck situation for the Browns, and I did not take a shot. I just let it be, and I should have been on the Browns there. That's a perfect game. You want to go back to it's easy to say this in hindsight, but that is the
Yeah,
type of game, a little sprinkle on a
yeah,
team that
yep,
we just don't know how good they are. Could they completely implode? Yeah, I thought that was very possible. But I also think, as much as I'm shorting the Browns this year, we know they have talent.
yeah.
And we did see the best version of themselves last week.
Yeah, we know the upside is there with Cleveland, or at least we think we did, and we saw a decent effort last week. It really makes me question. I'm not the first one to say this, right? Like the Ravens defense. I think Ben, you said this last week or the week before. Like in name, everybody assumes the Ravens have a great defense,
Yep.
but I don't think it's that great this year. Like Jimmy Smith's been out. Like if he comes back, of course that makes a big difference.
No, it's gettable, and I certainly on Sundays when we were talking the DFS side of it, I thought that you could get to the Browns. Now, of course, I thought Odell was the answer. Spoiler alert, it was Landry and
Yeah,
Nick Chubb. But that's neither here nor there. I think the Ravens do get some name recognition, maybe more than when you look at the pure numbers. So big
yeah,
test for Mason Rudolph. I have no tough game, but when you're a live dog like that, 3.5 at home, fine number. So
yeah.
what happens?
Yeah, that extra hook is valuable. Yeah, I really just with Baltimore, just going back really quickly, because you look at the first two games, they obviously destroyed Miami, and then they hung on to beat Arizona. That game was pretty tight, and we've seen that those are probably two of the worst, I don't know, four defenses in the league. So we just need to see. I need to see a little more from Lamar Jackson. Like I was not impressed. Obviously, last week was a tough game for him. But
It will.
big spot going into Pittsburgh for sure. A game that I'm really interested in watching.
Oh, definitely. I can't wait to see it. And like I said, the Browns, they are at the Niners on Monday Night Football, which is a huge game for
It
both
is.
teams in different reasons. Uh, all right. Well, perfect. That's a huge game. I'm going to probably the least relevant game on the entire schedule. Two of the worst teams in the league. I'm talk about a hold your nose pick. I'm laying 3 with the Bengals
That
at
was going to be
home.
my guess after you said that.
Yep. I have no respect for the Cardinals whatsoever, and Cincinnati is coming off just an absolutely abysmal showing in Pittsburgh. I don't take much, if at all, from that. This is just a Cardinals team. We know how fast they're playing.
Yeah.
Their defense sucks. Kyler Murray he's holding on to the ball way too long, taking a ton of sacks. And as bad as Cincy is, and they are bad, they still have the core weapons somewhat intact on offense when you have Dalton, Boyd, Mixon, Eifert against the Cardinals' tight end defense, which is non-existent. I
Yeah.
have a feeling since he can put up enough points here, I think big games are coming from Kyler Murray here and there. I just don't know if it'll be this week, and I feel a little more confident that the Bengals, they have the feel of still getting to 3 or 4 wins in my mind, and those are going to come at home. And this is one of those spots for me.
Yeah, I agree with you. I really like Cincinnati in this spot too. Like we're just saying, I mean, Arizona's defense is just a total sieve at this point, and Cincinnati, yeah, they've been struggling, but we've seen their offense put up some numbers or at least yardage. Dalton's been pretty respectable, at least the first 3 weeks. And I think it's a pretty good spot for them at home. I don't expect a lot. I think their ceiling is incredibly low for Cincinnati, but if they get in a shootout here, I don't mind that necessarily. Like I'm not. It's a pretty high total, right? It's 47 and a half. I don't
Yep.
expect this game to be relatively low scoring, but I'm fine with that given Cincinnati's propensity to put some points on the board, at least move the ball. Uh, I don't obviously John Ross got hurt. I don't think that's going to slow down this offense too much. I'm not worried about that. I mean, like you said, they still have Boyd and Mixon, and Eifert is going to be just the streamlined play. It seems like, given the way that Arizona is giving up touchdowns and yardage to tight ends this week. But I like the spot at home.
Yeah, and again, it never feels great to you know back some of these teams, but at the same time, it's the NFL. So not everybody's going 0-16. I know it feels like there's 5 teams that can't win.
It
Some
does.
teams can win. Let's be real. So Cincinnati to me is bad, but they're not that bad, and it'll be a telling game. It's not going to mean anything, but I do want to see how both these teams kind of react to a different situation. So for me, in the quote unquote jungle of Cincinnati, they're always kind of better at home. I'm willing to lay those points.
Yeah, I like that spot too. Um, uh,
So what say you for this third and final pick?
so you already referenced my third and final pick, and you
On
talked
the Monday night?
negatively upon it. So I'm very upset with that. But I am riding again with Carolina. I had them last week
Okay.
with the outright win against Houston. Obviously, I don't love getting the extra hook here. Right now, it's -3.5, and I agree with you 100%. Like I'm waiting in real life to bet this game because I want that number obviously to get down to 3. But I also think this is such a good spot. Carolina's defense is so underrated. Just looking at some of the stats, they're first in opponents' yards allowed, first in opponents' yard per completion, first in sack percentages. They're second only behind the Patriots in yards per play allowed. A lot of this obviously is going to rely on Kyle Allen again, and he didn't have the best game last week. He had 3 fumbles. He only lost one of them, but I don't like that he's kind of careless with the ball. Kind of reminds me a little bit of your boy Jared Goff there. Can't hold on to the ball. I had to throw that one in. But I just really love the Carolina's defense, and so I'm obviously fading the God himself, Minshew, and him going against the stout D. I'm also kind of hoping, obviously, that Ramsey doesn't play this week. I'm not sure what the latest is. I don't know if anybody knows, but that would certainly help open it up a little bit for Carolina. Do I love laying the extra hook here? Of course not, but I also think there's a big opportunity here for Carolina. I think they could win this game by double digits. That's kind of how I'm thinking.
I mean, I'm with you. It was a situation where I'm just trying to be price conscious. And as much as I do love and I want to win this little competition we got in outside of the show, I'm waiting because we have the luxury of waiting, and I'm gonna try to take this game. I just think where I'm looking, it's right now on the screen where I'm looking, the Jags are plus 3.5 minus 120, and that indicates that it's very close to tipping.
Yeah.
Where as soon as that tips and Carolina goes to -3, even if it's minus 115, I'll probably just take it. I'm willing to lay that number. So I like that pick a lot. I think 14 sacks in the last two games for this D line. They're getting pressure right up the middle. I know the Jags are going to want to run Fournette into the ground here, but if they fall behind, I know Minshew's impressive, but I'm still not completely there. So I lean
Yeah.
to the Panthers at home, and I wonder what's going to happen. This is not relevant to your bet. If the Panthers do get on a little streak here, do you think they will bring Cam Newton back when he says he's healthy?
I think they're going to wait as long as possible. And he came out and said, I'm going to make sure and wait until I'm 100% healthy. If they keep winning and rolling the way that they are, this is such an interesting season, right? There's so many teams kind of in the same boat. You have the Bears we talked about. There's so many other backups who are in. Obviously, Drew Brees, that situation's not going to happen. But here, I don't know. I think you could make the point that they've been playing certainly better, with Allen behind, as the quarterback, instead of Cam. Just the data from Cam, we're looking at the uncatchable percentage rate those first two games. And granted, I think he was already hurt, but he was just putting his team behind the eight ball left and right. Like I think they're a better team with Allen, which is insane to say.
Oh, I feel that way too. And no doubt about it. And I think they're going to wait. I wonder what Cam will do if he truly feels he's ready to go. And they're saying, give it a week. That'll be a
Yeah.
situation to monitor because I don't know why they would go back to him if Kyle Allen is getting the job done.
Yeah, I could see that not becoming a pretty situation if
No.
Cam is truly ready to go and they're like, why don't you wait a few more weeks?
No doubt about it. Okay. So we got chat's talking about the poker scandal, which is just hilarious.
Oh, nice.
Last pick for Nolan is KC and Indy under 56.5. That's a double-digit spread in Arrowhead. I'm not gonna lie, I have no real feel on this. I always have a tough time with. I mean, this is a big total. I'm not denying that.
Yeah.
But with Mahomes coming off a game where he threw no touchdowns, I don't know what to expect, to be honest. So no feel for me. Do you have a read on that number?
I think if you're going to bet the under in real life, you should just wait as long as possible because the public will bet that number up. Even at 56.5, I think it's still going to go higher, especially as a standalone game in prime time. I think everybody's going to be betting the over. I think I was looking at the Chiefs, another double-digit favorite. Like I just think it's a get right spot after last week. I mean, they still played well, obviously, and won, but I really like the Chiefs to hammer the Colts here. It's just a question, right? The Chiefs defense is very bad. How many points can the Colts put up? Like I've liked the Colts for a few weeks now, but I don't have a strong feel as to that total. If I were to bet the under, like I said, I would wait until kickoff and bet it.
Yeah, I mean, certain games, certain teams, the connotation, and rightfully so. Mahomes is unbelievable, but I do think the public money tend to get, you see that over. So we'll see. That is the night game for what it's worth. And that's part of it. I'll be honest.
Yeah, it is.
I've been breaking down all these games, but a lot of it's for DFS side of it. And naturally, I didn't really focus on that game because it's not on the slate. So maybe for Showdown, I can tie with 50,000 of you like last night.
That's right.
And win $1,000. But all right. Well, let's see what we can do. We do have Survivor.
Were you one of those 50,000? Did you take it down?
No, are you kidding me? Oh, I donated.
I was at halftime. I was in second or third, which meant like I was in like 250th place, but obviously that didn't hold.
Yeah, I mean, my big problem was that I really liked Brandon Cooks last night, and he didn't do anything, and then he got
hurt, yeah,
knocked out. So the other thing I want to say is I would have had a team, and I believe Ship My Money also would have. Gerald Everett scored on that play. I know Gurley ran it in right afterwards, but those are the little things that was so tilting. Gerald Everett, low key, amazing. He had
a monster game.
Crazy plays out there.
He was.
So that the Rams, yeah, God, it's so sick.
It
Anyway,
is. It
do you want
is.
to do real quick? I put this in my betting article this week, and it's available on the site for free. Everyone go check it out if you want. I put a shout out to you about Mahomes for MVP in there. Uh,
Oh, I did notice that. Yeah, I was wondering if because we had talked about that. I think it was that this week. I think early in
it
the week we
was,
talked
yeah.
about
You
that.
texted
Yeah.
me, and if you want to just, so if your book does offer MVP lines, Mahomes is around even money right now. And when you really, you're like, oh, that's not great for a future. When you step back and look, it's pretty dire outside of him right now.
Yeah.
So just something to keep in mind if you're looking for something like that. I kind of feel like there is some value because I don't know how Brady or Lamar really get in the mix. It seems pretty dicey.
Yeah, yeah. That when I brought that up to you, that was really my rationale. Like if you look at who is second and third right now, and there was Brady, and then I think Jackson, and I can't remember who else, but they were
Yeah,
all like 10 to
Rodgers.
1 in Rogers. Yeah, they were all 9 or 10 to 1 basically, and Mahomes is even money, which is you're just fading an injury at this point. I feel like you would
Mhm.
need some crazy outcome for somebody to jump up in my opinion, to catch Mahomes to win the MVP. We're only a quarter way through the season, but I feel pretty confident about it, and I'm definitely going to put something on that.
All right, there we go. Oh boy. So
I
Survivor,
like it. I like it. Good choice.
yeah, it's good. I'm not getting fancy in Survivor, and neither is Nolan. I have the Eagles. I back to just the Jets are not good. Luke Falk is gonna have problems. Uh, I'm just taking that and moving on. Don't want to burn the Patriots.
I don't want to burn the Patriots either, but I'm actually going to go with the Chiefs.
Okay.
Another one that I'm just hoping is a free square. They've got a couple good matchups left, uh, where there's also teams playing Miami that week that I wouldn't use otherwise. Like the Giants play Miami if you're looking ahead, uh, way ahead. I know that's week 15. I don't want to project too far out because obviously a lot of us had the Rams last week, so you can only project so much here. But I'm just going to go with the Chiefs and hope they give me my free square this week.
Yeah, I think we talk about that all the time. You don't want to go too far out, but if you're just looking at week 5, you're doing it wrong. So if it's a double elimination, you had the Rams, you have some life. If not, you hopefully didn't have the Rams. Man, see the poker cheating scam. We should do a whole separate show just on that. Uh,
I'm ready. I've watched so much of the breakdown.
yeah, we
I'm
got some
ready to do
people
it.
with some good stuff in there. Shout out to Paulie in chat, but yeah. So no real groundbreaking stuff in Survivor this week. You just
Yeah.
want to
So
keep.
when should we schedule our poker breakdown show? Do you want to do
Yeah, I don't
that?
know. We'll that'll be up on the yeah. We'll see what we can do because fascinating stuff out in the world right now.
It is a crazy time as usual, but it's just always something happening.
True story. True story.
Anything on the college side you want to hit on? Are there any games this weekend or tonight that you've been looking at that you want to hit up real quick?
So sure, a couple, and I will have. Chat was just asking about this. I will have a betting and a DFS breakdown for Saturday posted. I am working diligently on it. Had to stop because I'm doing this show, but I will get that up. There's only 2 games tonight, so nothing for that. But so a couple games I wanted to talk about. First one is very, very shady, and it's Arizona and Colorado. So this is a team's Khalil Tate, who is the dynamic playmaker for Arizona. He's out with a hamstring. He's questionable to play. If he doesn't play, the backup threw for 350 last week. He has like all the I don't want to say all, but many of the Texas State records. He's a gunslinger. Colorado is missing 3 safeties, 1 cornerback, their best D end. They are 120th against the pass.
Wow.
I think they are going to get torn apart on that side of the ball. They still have a good quarterback. Arizona can't stop the run. This over under is 62.5 out in Boulder, the thin air style. I think this just gets over the total. So someone was asking about over unders. That is just the one that stuck out to me. I think the lack of depth on Colorado's secondary, and I think people are overreacting to Tate possibly being out. Even if he doesn't play, Arizona has a capable backup. They are going to move the ball, and Colorado will also move the ball. So that's one that no one in their right mind is really looking at, but it's just worth mentioning.
Those are my favorite games to look at. What is the total at right now?
It is 62.5,
Okay.
which is a good amount, but at the same
Yeah.
time, Arizona is a team that we've seen already this year. They played FCS Northern Arizona 65-41. Them and Hawaii were in a shootout early in the year. And then on the other side, Colorado against Nebraska, gave up a ton of points. The only game where they didn't was Air Force. And I throw that out completely because Air Force doesn't, they run a triple option. So take that for what it's worth. I
Yeah.
think both these teams can really exploit each other's weaknesses, and Colorado again is really hurting on the back end.
All right, Arizona, Colorado. I'm definitely going to take a look at that over. Anything else jumping out to you? Are there any big marquee games this weekend? I don't know if there are.
So there's College Game Day is in Gainesville in the Swamp. You've got
Oh,
Auburn minus. So this is Auburn opened at Pick'em against Florida, and it's
that's
already
right.
up to 2.5, and it looks like it's about to go to 3. Everybody in the world is on Auburn. All the money is on Auburn, and it's because Auburn beat Oregon. They beat Texas A&M. They absolutely murdered Mississippi State last week, which I did have. That was one of my few good things. Florida, on the other hand, Felipe Frank's broken ankle. He is gone. We just don't know. Their backup, Kyle Trask, he looks good. They played Towson last week. If you're wondering who the hell is Towson, that's a fair question. They don't even play FBS football. So we're going to find out what these teams are made of. I will say that if I had to take a spot in this game, I'm actually leaning at home with the Gators. They're getting healthy at the right time. The defense is a lot better than people think. And although Auburn is really good, I have a feeling that Florida's better than people really expect. And I don't think there's a drop off. We just talked about this in the NFL. Kyle Trask to Felipe Franks, I don't think there's a drop off. In fact, he takes care of the ball much better. So I think that if Auburn is unable to establish the run in the Swamp, it could be a pretty low scoring, grinded out type game.
Yeah, to your point, it looks like about 70% of the money is coming in on Auburn, which is not indicative necessarily of sharp money, but just a quantity of money coming in. So sometimes, I like to go the other way in those spots.
I mean, everybody, I get it because you look and you're just like, Auburn has killed all their bad teams and they've got probably the most impressive resume of any team in the country, truly. They've beaten an Oregon team that I think is really good, and they went to College Station and handled Texas A&M. You look at Florida, what have they really done? They beat Miami, they beat Kentucky, they beat Towson. That's not the same thing, but they have one of the best cornerbacks in the country who is coming back. They've got a good middle linebacker. They just have, it's Florida. They always have athletes. They always have speed. They're one of the few teams. They have the speed to match up with an Auburn team. The one problem, Auburn's defensive line is really good. There's no denying that. Derek Brown is going to be a top 10 pick. So we'll see about that. But like I said, I'm going to wait. And I think if it gets to 3.5, I 100% am betting Florida. There's no denying that.
Oh yeah, I'm gonna keep an eye on that now. Let me ask you real quick, and then we'll get out of here. What are your thoughts? As I see, it's a pretty big game in the Big Ten. Since I'm the Big Ten guy, Iowa going to the Big House, Michigan. I was a little worried about a letdown last week, Michigan, but they came out and crushed. I think it was Rutgers.
Rutgers
No
is
problem. Yeah, they're terrible.
you before we get to that, I want to say because Chad randomly talked about UMass. I went to UMass. They are the worst team I've ever seen, and they won last week against Akron, so they are on the board.
All right.
Just shows you how bad Akron is. This is I guess every time I say this, it happens, and then I say it the next time. This is it for Harbaugh, though, right? If they get
Seems
blown
like
out
it.
here, this has to be it. There is no excuse. I said that against Wisconsin, and they were just physically outmanned. That was in Madison. This is in Ann Arbor. I was a quality team. They have a senior quarterback in Stanley who's a good player, but they are not as good as Michigan. Michigan has everything that you could want. Shea Patterson actually looked pretty good last week. Of course, it was against Rutgers, so take it for what it is.
Yeah.
But they need to win this game. They're 3.5-point favorite, over under a 48. I mean, I'm not going to have a play on the game. I do lean Michigan, but we've seen this story before with them. It's been really disappointing. They have some big games coming up. They have to go to Penn State. Ultimately, they will be playing Ohio State at home, who looks invincible right now. I'm a little skeptical of how good they are, but we'll see later in the year. I think this is just has to be a statement by Michigan. They need to find a way to stifle Iowa on offense. and just find a way to produce some points. So should be a typical Big Ten game, 24-20 style.
Yeah,
But man, the pressure.
grind it out.
Yep. So if Harbaugh loses this, I honestly think he's got to go. I really do.
Is there any scenario they fire him in season?
I I don't think it's impossible. I really don't.
That would be insane.
Which seems unfathomable considering he's a Michigan guy, and it's just he has done absolutely nothing. And I'm the biggest Jim Harbaugh and Michigan. I like Michigan a lot in life, and this is just crazy because. But I think he's going to win this game. So having said that, that'll turn down the notch just a couple dials.
Yeah, because it will get hot real quick if they lose this game, and especially like you said, with some of those big matchups looming.
Yeah,
And just kind of the last few years with him at Michigan, it's not been all roses over there. So big spot for Michigan.
you guys play Minnesota, just for you Fighting Illini alumni.
That's right. That's right.
They're gonna lose, but that's all right.
That's all right.
Last thing before we get out of here, take the points with Maryland versus Rutgers. Probably. Rutgers is awful. Anthony McFarland, I have no real problem with that. Not a game that I'm looking to. Like I said, I have one more that'll be in the betting article that'll go up, so go check that out. It's going to be a good Saturday, though. I actually really like the slate.
Nice little teaser there. We'll look for that article. I should say, I know we mentioned it at the beginning of the show. If anybody listening or watching is in the state of Indiana, make sure to check out. We just put up a bunch of new content to help you guys out with DraftKings launching in Indiana. So it seems like a perfect opportunity to jump in. We have a lot of people in Chicago, I know, who are subs and go to the site and watch the show. It's a quick drive from Chicago to get to Indiana. If I still lived in Chicago, I would 100% be driving over the border and betting online and probably in person too. But big opportunity now in Indiana. So definitely take advantage of that.
Absolutely.
Maybe we need a group trip to lovely Gary, Indiana, where all the casinos are.
Nothing better than Gary. I hear wonderful things.
It's beautiful this time of year. Yeah, lovely odor in the air. It's a good place to be.
What are you going to do? But no, I mean, one of the things, I guess we can get out of here on this note. Right now, we talked about at the beginning of the show, these new companies, they are all about customer acquisition. And how do they do that? They're going to give you free money, basically, with promos, with sign-up bonuses, with deposit bonuses. You see it across the board with all of them. So take advantage while you can, because once they get everyone in, those are going to dissipate. But this is open season. You can get a lot of free money and really pad your roll, which is what you're obviously looking to do.
Yeah, great point. Especially as these new states come on board, like this initial phase, during football season, you're going to get so many of these offers. I'm just jealous that I don't live in any of these states where I can take advantage of it.
It's awful.
Yeah, so you and I will talk about scheduling our poker breakdown show. We'll get that on the books. And we'll go from there. Anything else this weekend? Obviously, I mean, there's a ton going on this weekend. Any other specific games you're watching, or are you going to bet any baseball? I put in a few bets myself, but
I bet the Braves today. Take that. Let me tell you right now, chat. That's worth what you paid for it. I guarantee it. I don't know anything about baseball. I just think that they gotta win today. But no, I like I said, I like the slate tomorrow a lot. As I always say, for college football, we have a really good Slack channel. I always do leading up to lock. I hold office hours. So if you're not in there, we always encourage you to sign on up. We'd love to have you. Check out those articles. A lot of good info in there as well.
Definitely. Make sure to check out, obviously, like Ben said, his college football article. We've got a Survivor article up breaking down this week, NFL picks. We've got it all covered. So make sure to check all of that out. Otherwise, have a great weekend. Good luck, everybody, and we'll talk to you next week.